Welcome back, folks. This is going to be the most ambitious poker challenge ever. I am going from $0 net worth to 2 million Canadian. This isn't 0 to 2 million bankroll challenge, this is 0 to 2 million net worth. This does include everything, my investments, my spending, my poker ups and downs, the YouTube income, everything. It is going to be unbelievable. It's going to be the final challenge on this channel. So I have been preparing for this challenge now for about a few weeks, consolidating everything, canceling monthly subscriptions, getting a storage locker, all these things. It is now ready. Today is July 25th. It is a Thursday. We are beginning Friday night, which is tomorrow night, July 26th. I will be homeless. So before this challenge begins, let's have 2 more beautiful days of spending money and enjoying the things that money can buy. First stop, Palette Coffee Roasters. Let's get this day started. I'm so excited. I'm gonna hold back, no expenses. Let's get going. It's gonna be a super fun day. So back to the challenge. My bank account, it's gonna be zeroed tomorrow. I've got a $5,000 credit card limit that is all paid off. Everything else is in long-term investments right now. It'll probably give me like 7 days if I really need to take it out, if things go really south, but hoping it doesn't come to that. I also have a storage locker, not gonna be touching it. I may grab some suits out there in case I need them, but for the most part, until I get accommodation, that's just not gonna be a part of the challenge. All I have is this. So what do I have? I have my vlog equipment, the phone I'm recording on, the gimbal, wireless mic. I have my editing laptop, my mouse pad, all those little things. As far as living supplies go, I have a camping chair, boom, beach towel, duffel bag, 20 pairs of socks, 20 pairs of shirts, 20 pairs of underwear, swim shorts, these shorts, and then some basic toiletries, and that is it, guys. That is it. Okay, before we continue, I'm gonna take you guys to my favorite Vancouver restaurant. This is called Ask for Luigi. It's Italian. They've got a Michelin recommendation, maybe a Michelin star, I don't know, but we're gonna head down there. I'm gonna come back and talk more about this challenge. Let's go. So when I begin this challenge, I don't know how long it's gonna take me, how many videos there are going to be before there's gonna be poker back in the mix. So I'm gonna treat you guys. We are gonna jump into a 2-5-10 session that I played at Park just yesterday. It was just a reg fest pretty much, just reg battle. I think it's 2 recreationals, but they're still very competent. So it's gonna be fun. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of fun, a lot of battles. Let's hop into that right now. It is a 2-5 with a $10 straddle for most of the game. We're in for 1,500. Let's get straight to some hands, boys. In our first hand, we have an under the gun +2 limp. We looked down at 10-8 of spades in the hijack, good enough for raise, so I bump it up to $40. Button comes along, as does the limper. We're 3 ways to this flop, which comes out all right. It's king, queen, 7 with the 7 of spades. It is rainbow. So when it checks to me, we're gonna have quite a few strong hands here, so it's nice to have some bluffs that we can just absolutely chuck away if we do get raised. So I put in $40, button calls, and the limper calls. So not a good start. Off the turn, it's okay. It's a 9 of hearts giving us an open ender. However, the jack is okay. We're probably never gonna get paid on it, but I don't know, the 6 is okay. I think it's a card that's not really gonna improve him too much. We do block jack 10, which is nice, and it's gonna look pretty strong betting again into 2 players. So when they check to me, I size up here and I put in a bet of 2-2-5 into the middle, almost a pot size bet. Button quickly gets out the way, as does the limper, and we are taking down our first pot of the day. Moving along, we pick up the ace queen off, and when there's a middle position raised to 30, we are going to bump this up to 100. Folds back round, middle position gives it a little bit of thought, and then makes the call. We're heads up to this turn of king 10-10 rainbow. Really good board for us, so when he checks to me, Gonna bet all my hands for a small sizing here. 65 into the middle. Makes a pretty quick call. Off to turn, it's quite nice. It's a king, making it very unlikely our opponent has a full house here. And it's gonna put hands like queens, jacks, nines, eights, especially anything under pocket tens into a really rough spot here. So when he checks to me, we're just gonna keep barreling here. We do not have to go too big here. It's a board that a lot of removal is gonna play into this. So because of that, you don't wanna bet too big. 110 is the middle, 1/3 in position is a good size in my opinion. And he doesn't think about it too much and just lets it go. So we have an under the gun raise to 30. I looked down at pocket eights in the cutoff. Could very low frequency raise, but I think call makes more sense. So I make the call. This also invites the straddle in. So 3 ways to this flop, which is quite nice for pocket eights. It's 5, 3, deuce, 2 clubs, and a spade. What's even nicer is that the original raiser now checks it over to me. Gonna start building this pot here, deny some equity. So 1/3 into the middle, $30. Always my sizing for multi-way flops. Under the gun folds and the original raiser makes the call. This is a guy that I do not expect to ever check an overpair here. So, you know, he's gonna have some ace highs here, maybe some, I don't think he's got flush draws either. But anyways, onto the turn. It is the 9 of clubs completing the flush. He checks to me. I think we could still definitely keep going for some value here. So I put in another bet here. Don't want to go too big because I'm betting very thin on this turn, as you can see. So if we're betting this many hands, we don't want to go for a large sizing with all of our hands. So half pot into the middle, 75. And once again, my opponent makes the call. Head to the river. It's a good one. It's a 3 of hearts. I don't expect him to be continuing here with any 3x on the turn. So when he checks to me, he doesn't lead here. And I do think he's going to lead some of the time when he does make a strong hand. I'm just going to go for some maniacally thin value here. Maybe he's got a hand like 6s or 7s. I doubt it. I think he's most likely just got ace high. And let's just try and get a crying call from it. So $250 into the middle, but we got a very quick fold. But picking up 3 pots in a row here to start this session. Things are going well. We got momentum on our side. In this next hand, we have a solid reg opening from under the gun to 30. We got hijack and cutoff to call. And I looked down at queen, jack of hearts in the straddle. I think definitely worthy of a squeeze here. We're quite deep, so that is what I do. $180 to go. Original raiser makes the fold. Hijack, after tanking for quite a while, makes the call. Now cutoff is now in the tank. Man, make your decision. That guy was just in the tank for like a minute or two. You can decide already. But anyways, he gets out of there after a lot of deliberation. We go heads up to a flop, and it's a good one. 10, 9, 3, all hearts. We flop the flush. Now, I think it's pretty tempting to bet here, especially against this opponent. He's one of the 2 that are a bit weaker at the table, so don't mind betting here. But I also think a flop check makes more sense, as it's not a great board for us overall. So I'm going to start with a check here, and my opponent unfortunately checks behind. Hence the turn. We turn the straight with the 8 of spades, not that we needed it, and it's time to start building this pot. I'm going to want to start betting my overpairs here, like aces without a heart. So like the last hand, we are not going to go too big. About half pot here, 200. My opponent makes the call. Head to the river. Keep it clean. It's the 7 of spades. Not a great card, as now maybe some 2 pairs can get away. You know, I'm not the biggest fan of this card, but we got to go for it. It's about a pot-sized bet left behind, so I go all in, $920 into the middle. My opponent once again goes deep into the tank. And you know when you get that feeling, whether someone's going to call or fold? About 15 seconds in, I had the feeling that he's just never, ever calling here. And then he takes his chips, starts stacking them in front of them, counting them. And I consider, at this point, maybe I should try some speech play. But unfortunately, he doesn't really speak English, so I just decided not to say anything. Yeah, I was thinking of, I don't know what I even say, but I just had the feeling he's just posturing. There's no way he's going to call, and indeed, he just lets it go. But that is another hand, another pot being pushed towards us. Loving this session, guys. This next hand, it folds to us in the big blind. We bump it up to $30, and the straddler defends. Heads up to a flop of ace, 9, 7, 2 clubs, and a diamond. This is going to be a pretty big bet board, and it's not going to be too frequent, as the 9 and 7 are a little bit better for him than it is for us. But, you know, 6 high, let's go for it. I put in a wager, $50 into the middle. My opponent makes the call. Hence the turn. We're running good today, guys. We turn the straight with the 8 of hearts. Now, same thing as before, this is a card that's not going to be good for us. It's going to be a lot better for my opponent than it is for us. So for that reason, I'm going to check 100% of my hands here. He's a very solid reg, so I don't want to go too crazy and just start blasting away with a 6 high straight. Or, you know what I mean. Anyways, unfortunately, my opponent does check this back. We head to the river. It's a bit funky. It's the ace of clubs, so the flush does get there. It does introduce some full houses like ace 9, ace 7 offsuit, but I think we can still get a little bit of value here. He knows I like to bluff, so I'm going to go for it. I put on a wager, $140. He gives about 30 seconds of thought, plops in the chips. We tell him the straight, and he says it's good. We cannot lose a pot today. I am loving this. Picking up a big hand here, pocket kings. Unfortunately, the straddle is not on for this hand. There's one player that does not straddle at the table, and it is unfortunately his turn to do so, but what can he do? We bump it up, $15 with the pocket kings, folds round to the cutoff. Good news, he bumps it up to $55. Even better news, we get a cold call from the small blind. So when it's back on us, we are gonna put in the 4-bet. Cutoff only has around 850 behind, so we don't want to go more than 25% of his stack. So I put in the 4-bet up to 220. After a little bit of thought, he makes the call and small blind gets out the way. We are going heads up to this flop and it comes down. Once again, unbelievable. King, jack, jack. We flop the full house. Board, I'm going to want to be betting super frequently and for a very small size, so I go $100 into the middle. My opponent doesn't take too long and then makes the call. We go to the turn, it is the 10 of clubs. I look over to stack, he's only got about 530 behind. If I do have hands like ace, king, pocket queens, maybe some king queens, those hands are really happy just to get to showdown. They don't really want to push more money into this pot. It's getting really connected. There's a lot of hands my opponent can have that can beat those hands. So I think protecting that with some very, very, very strong hands and also give my opponent a chance to bluff. So I check it over, and unfortunately he quickly checks it back. River, it's a deuce of clubs. I could go for it here, but he can have some, you know, marginal hands here that are going to have to bluff. He's a very strong tournament player. So I think we got to give him credit for being able to turn a hand like pocket nines into a bluff here, which I think he should definitely do. So I'm going to go for the trap one more time. I check it over, and after about 30 seconds, my opponent announces all in. We snap call. I tell him I got pocket kings, and he briefly flashes us the jack 10 suited. That is a brutal beat in a 4-bet pot, full house over full house, but yet another pot getting pushed our way. We're looking at an ace 10 of diamonds here, getting ready to pile more money into this pot. The low jack has raised to 30 in the big blind. He goes to call, then he decides to grab more chips, and then he decides not to, and then decides on a call again. He's holding the 30, and then goes and grabs another 100 and makes it 130. Don't really know what to think of this. Was he thinking of trapping? Was it a marginal re-raise? I don't know, but ace 10 suited is a very, very good cold 4-bet candidate bluff. So I look over to stack, doesn't have too much behind. I guesstimated around 900 total. So I put in the 4-bet up to 275. I don't want to go more than 25% of his stack, so this is about as small as I can make it here. Low jack folds, and then big blind snap shoves all in, and we get a count. It's about 1,100. Just the speed at which he did it after deciding on call or fold. But something just fell off. You know, I give it a little bit of thought, ask for a count. It's a bit too much for us to call here, so I think we're just going to have to give him credit. I think we just ran into it here, especially with the speed that he just snapped it in. All right, so I still don't hate the way I play that hand, but that is our first losing hand of this session. Let's keep it going. Not losing, of course. We open up the jack 9 of clubs in the hijack up to $25, and we only get one caller from the small blind. We go heads up to a flop of ace 8-6 rainbow. Small blind checks, and very similar to the other board, we had ace 9-7. Those two middle cards are between a 6 and a 9, so you want to use larger sizings and bet a lot more infrequently. This hand, I think I should have just checked back and mostly given up, but this time I decided to bet it. $50 into the middle, and he makes a very quick call. Head to the turn, it is the 8 of hearts. My opponent now checks it over. Since we did use a very large sizing on the flop, this 8 is going to be significantly better for him, and I'm going to check, I think, all my hands here. So I just check this back. This is no different. River is a blank, the 3 of clubs. My opponent once again checks it, and I think he's going to be quite capped here. Usually I don't use too big sizes on paired boards, but I think because we're checking back 100% on the turn, we're going to have to try and make up for that loss value with a very big bet here. And, you know, bluff like Jack 9 is pretty nice. It doesn't block too many hands that he can fold. So, yeah, let's go for it. 225 into the middle. He gives it not a whole lot of thoughts and then gets out of there, picking up another pot here. Things are going right back in the correct direction once again. This time we're opening up the 6-5 of spades in middle position up to $25. We only get one caller from the small blind, which I think is the same person as last hand. So anyways, heads up to this flop of Queen, 5-4 rainbow. Unfortunately, no spade in sight, but we do have middle pair. Opponent checks, and I think this is a check back, so that's what I do. Anyways, the turn is the deuce of hearts. We pick up a gut shot now, and a backdoor flush shot does come in. Small blind checks, gonna definitely bet here for protection and value. $40 into the middle, my opponent makes a call. Head to the river, it's interesting. It's probably the most interesting river we could get. It's a 6 of hearts, improving us to 2 pair, putting a one-liner to a straight on the board. Also 7-8 makes a straight, and the flush got in. But my opponent checks it to us once again. And after a bit of thought, I think we got to go for some more thin value, you guys. It is very thin this time, but I put in a bet of 125, and my opponent does not think for long and snaps in that call. I announce 2 pair, and it's good once again, dragging in another pot in this session. Small blind has limped, and we're in the big blind with the ace queen off. Bump it up to $40 to ISO. Straddle gets out the way, and my opponent makes the call. Head to the flop, and it's another good one. It's queen, queen, 6 with 2 clubs and a spade. Small blind checks. I put in a small bet of 30, and he snap calls us. The turn is the 8 of diamonds. He checks, and we're gonna have to keep barreling. I don't want to go too big here. I think 2/3 seems good. So 100's the middle, and once again he snap calls us. Off to the river, it is the 3 of diamonds. He checks it over, and now we got to decide on a sizing. And I want to go big. The decision is either pot or something around 500, about 1.5x here. Just based on how fast he's calling, I really think I should go 500 here. But I also didn't want to go just stupid big and let him fold a hand like 5s if he's just deciding to hero us with that. So in the end, I decided to go pot 350, and I really wish I went to 500 because he once again snap calls us. We roll it over, and of course it is good, and we're winning another pot. This is our final hand. We open it with a 6-4 of hearts up to $30. My friend to the left puts in the 3-bet up to 130. Big blind gets out the way, under the gun gets out the way. Him and I are drinking a little bit of wine together. Let's give him some action. I toss in the call. We go heads up to this flop, which is okay for 6-4 of hearts. It's Jack 8-5 with 1 heart. We got ourselves a gutter to an okay straight, as well as a backdoor flush draw. Small blind puts in a bet of $80. I don't think raising makes too much sense, although I imagine this hand would be a very high frequency range if you put it into the computers, but let's just go with a call. Turn is nice. It's a heart, and not only that, it's the 7 of hearts. We turn our straight. We are running so hot today. And what's better, small blind continues betting. He puts in a bet of 225. Now it's over on me, and I think this card is going to be quite a bit better for me than it is for him. I'm going to have more 8-7s, more 10-9s, although small blind versus button, he should have quite a few of these as well. But I can also pick up a lot of equity. You know, my 10-9 is going to pick up equity, 8-9, 6-5, 7-6. All those hands are all going to improve in terms of percentage chance to win. So we have a lot of bluffs, and we do have quite a few values considering I didn't raise the flop. I don't think I'd raise the flop with jacks, 8s, 5s, so now is the time to start putting those value hands to work. We're quite deep. He looks like, I think he's got around 2,200 behind at this point, so we definitely need a raise in there. I bump it up to 650, and he goes into the tank. After about a minute of thought, He unfortunately folds his pocket queens. Nice fold, and that is it for our session. Cashing out over $4,000. Unreal. Gotta love it. So that's that. That was my final poker session before resetting my net worth, essentially. I do have this car. I totally forgot to mention. Car exists. It's mine. Can't sell it for the challenge. Prepaid insurance on it for a year, so that's really nice. But besides that, this is it. We have $0 to our name. What is the game plan for this going forward? We have $0, you guys. I'm gonna look for a job. You know, I think that's a no-brainer. You have no money. You should probably try to find a job, something that you can trade hours for money for. And I think my first goal is gonna be to get into some 1-3 as soon as possible. It'll be nice having a job where you can do 40 hours a week and then combining that with some poker, maybe get like 30 hours of poker in and just try to get a life roll first. Then I'm gonna look for accommodation, and then from there I will decide new goals until we finally reach 2 million. Now, why 2 million Canadian? 2 million is an amount that I feel that I could soft retire at. You know, you're getting anywhere from 100 to 200,000 a year with lower tax rates just from your investments, but who knows what inflation is gonna do to that money in that time? Who knows how long it's gonna take? But I'll tell you what, having 2 million is better than no million. So once we get to 2 million, we will decide. And finally, I have one more challenge. I've always wanted to be 200 pounds, so I'm gonna get my butt back into the gym. I currently weigh about 175 or 180. So that is it, guys. I don't wanna spoil any more for the next few videos. They are gonna be so much fun. I'm probably gonna be living in the car for a little bit. Won't tell you guys where, just in case you guys are insane, which I think some of you might be. Let's end this video off with my two favorite things in the world, whiskey and cigars. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good night, and I'll see you all in the next video.